Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be doing a first look on the newly released Reebok mid-top boxing shoe. So check it out. Hey guys, Carlo here. Today I'll be giving you guys a first look on the newly released Reebok mid-top boxing shoes. This video is going to be a little bit different than my traditional unboxing videos, just for the simple fact that they're already unboxed. I opened these up earlier to take some video footage for social media to post it. I have not tried the shoes on. I just opened them up to take some video of the shoes and I put them back in the box. So this will be the first time that you guys will be seeing them through my channel, as well as the first time that I'm actually going to put them on. So I'll put them on, and from there I'll just give you guys my first impressions on how they feel, the fit, finish, and just the materials they use for these shoes. Now, this shoe retails for $100, as well as a high top version, which is the one that everyone is used to seeing. Those also retail for $100, so they're the same price, which I do like. You can get these as small as, I believe, as size 6 all the way to size 14. And they do offer this shoe in half sizes. I opted to go with size 11 just because I have wide feet, and generally when it comes to boxing shoes, as well as the older Reebok Commando boxing shoes, which was the first version that was released to the general public years ago, about like 7 or 8 years ago, those ran a little bit narrow in the toe box as well. So I opted to go with size 11 in men's. Hopefully they're accommodating for wide feet. It just has the label here. It just says boxing mid, unisex. It has a size for United States, also the Asian and European sizes. They are made in China. The box, nothing too special here, just dark blue and red with the Reebok logo on the top of the lid with the hinge opening. The inside, you just have your standard paper liner, and then you have the shoes. So let me go ahead and pull these out. Here is the left shoe. It does have a tag on here. Same thing with the barcode. So it shows that it's a mid. Now, I actually first saw these shoes a while back. Shakur Stevenson was actually using this in his training. I believe he's a Reebok sponsored athlete. So obviously a lot of the pros that are sponsored by these companies, they'll get the gear before anybody else does typically. But he was wearing these, and that's what kind of initially gave me sparked my interest in this shoe, because I had never seen the mid-top version of their boxing shoes. So there you have it, all black. The contrasting color is going to be white. That is the left shoe. And here is the right. I'm going to put the box to the side. Here is the right boot. So everything's pretty much identical. Obviously, it's a really clean looking shoe all the way around. So let's go ahead and talk about the materials that are used with the shoe. The first thing first is going to be, it's basically a suede textile upper. That's what they describe it as. Same kind of material they use on the original Reebok shoes. When they initially came out with the high tops, basically, if we go back in history, the first time that the Reebok boxing boots were really popularized was when Floyd Mayweather was wearing them, 10 to 15 years ago. And at that point in time, it was not available to the general public for a retail shoe. I believe Floyd was wearing them at the time, and even Amir Khan also was wearing. I believe that Reebok had sponsored both of them at that time. And you would see Amir Khan and Floyd wearing those boxing shoes, and everybody wanted them, including myself. They're just amazing looking shoes. They had awesome colorways, but again, finding them, you couldn't find them unless you had some type of connection within Reebok, or you were Floyd or Amir themselves. There was really no way to get a hold of these shoes. So Reebok finally released the shoes. I believe they were called the Reebok Commando boxing boots. That was the official name for the shoes. And they came in black, white, and then the logo was in red. And it had that newer style Reebok logo. It almost looks kind of like a segmented triangle. And you can see here they went back to the OG, the old school Reebok logo. So those were released, and then over the next couple of years they released other colorways. They had like an all gray, I believe they had like white, all black. So they had other colorways that came out. Were pretty, fairly popular shoe. I wouldn't say that they were as popular as like the Nike Hyper KOs. I feel like those are always the more popular shoe, but people wore them. And then kind of together with that, Adams Boxing had released a shoe that was very similar to that, and then Adams Boxing kept picking up steam, and I feel like Adams did a better job of evolving that style of shoe. And then recently, this is when this came out and was re-released in this colorway, all black with white. Very simple, clean, basic. The only difference that I can tell from this and the high top version that they currently sell is just the high top version is higher up around your ankle. You have a little bit higher support, so the laces go up higher. But basically, if you were to chop that off, this is the version you would get, a mid-top shoe, because the rest of the shoe, other than up from right up here on up, looks identical. I mean, the strap location is exactly the same, the laces, the structure of the shoe, everything looks pretty much identical. So I think the only thing that you're getting with the high top compared to the mid top that you see here is just a little bit higher up in terms of having your laces higher. So if you prefer that, then obviously that's probably what you want to go with. And aesthetically speaking, I prefer the high top look. I just think it looks sharper for a boxing shoe. I guess the pros and cons with that is, with a high top, it does take a little bit longer to lace your shoes up. So I guess for a convenience and speed factor, these would be a little bit better, easier to put on, lace them up and get to work. But again, those are kind of apples to oranges when it comes to that, but they do have this as a mid top. But anyhow, back to it. The upper is made of a suede textile upper. It's basically like a suede and a microfiber. The Reebok logo here is almost like a rubberized polyurethane material on the side panel, so you have it on both the outside and the inside of the shoe. You do have the Reebok written with the logo on the back right here on the suede on the heel cup. You also do have that signature horizontal support strap that goes across. One thing you'll notice with this is that the location of the D-ring that they use is actually located on the strap. So the Adams shoes that I have and some of the other boxing shoes that incorporate this ankle strap, sometimes we'll put the D-ring right here on this portion. So when you go through, you have to kind of slide it through here. I like the fact that it's actually on the end, because it's easier when you're putting the shoe on to slip it through rather than having to sit here and kind of mess with it to push through. You can kind of grab both ends and kind of slide it through. And this feels like a piece of metal, like a small piece of aluminum. So it's not plastic, at least it doesn't look like it. I think that is metal. But you do have that strap, and that's kind of the signature look of the shoe, is that Velcro strap. And that's what was on the OG version of the shoe. So you have that. You do have a synthetic mesh tongue that says Reebok right there. The inside has its tag. It says made in China, USA 11, UK 10. It looks like it has the manufacturing date of January of this year, so it was made a couple of months ago, with a QR code right there. The midsole is an EVA midsole, so it's going to be a denser, thicker midsole to give you the support and the shock absorption. The toe box you can see here, again, you have that synthetic mesh, and then the bottom, the outsole is made out of rubber, and it has a herringbone design with that gum color. So you do have that gum color. I think that looks awesome. I love the look of that gum color, the contrast with the white and the black. I think that looks really sharp, but you do have that herringbone outsole. Coming onto the inside, let me go ahead and undo the laces real quick. You do have, let's see if I can get this undone. So you have the nice long oval laces on here with the plastic tips at the end. One thing I do like about these oval laces, compared to laces that are completely either circular, is that they don't become undone when you lace them up. They stay pretty well locked in. So you do have those laces. You also notice that the laces on here, they go through just standard holes throughout the side panel of the lace track. So you don't have any type of like nylon loop that the laces go through. They actually go through like a traditional way. The pros of that is it's very clean. It keeps everything flush. The cons is that you have to typically start pulling from the very bottom right here and work your way up to really tighten the shoe down. Whereas when you have those little nylon loops, kind of when you pull from the top, everything kind of cinches up together and usually makes it quicker to tighten your shoes. You also notice that the tongue does have the little loop right there to keep the tongue from dropping into the shoe by holding the laces in. So you do have that little loop right there on the tongue. It does have a piece of paper on the inside to keep the shape of the toe box. Take that out. And you also have an insole that is technically not so, doesn't feel like it's supposed to be removable, because as I pull on it right now, it actually feels like it has glue on it. So the insole is glued in, but you can rip it out. I'm trying to show it to you guys. So there is an insole on the inside, and you guys can hear me kind of pulling it apart. And here it is. So nothing crazy there, but it does have a little bit of glue on it to keep it from coming out from the inside. Nothing special here, probably maybe 1/4 inch in thickness. Pretty generic standard foam, no ergonomics to it, just a flat piece of foam insole. I would definitely probably replace this with my own orthotics that are thicker, just because I like something a little bit more supportive. And then the insole, just nothing too crazy there either. You do have the insole on the inside. It's hard at the bottom. So in terms of like anything technical or special on the inside there, nothing, just your standard insole right there. So go ahead and slide that back in. But yeah, outside of that, this is like a really kind of like a no frills boxing shoe, right? Just your standard basic boxing shoe, clean, straight to the point, nothing too flashy, and should be easier to put these on compared to the high top. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting these shoes on and kind of walk around in them a little bit and give you guys my first impressions on how they feel, if they're comfortable or if they're not. So sit tight. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put the shoes on and give you guys my thoughts. My initial thoughts on how these feel. Slide the right shoe on. Put on the left. Start lacing these up and get it nice and snug from the top. And as you can see, just kind of the way it sits, you know, this is basically that bone, I don't know what you want to call it, right here. So you can see that it's a very, I guess you can call it a low sitting shoe. If it was the high tops, they would be sitting, you know, right up around here. So I feel like it's just really what you feel is more convenient for you to use. So I'm gonna go ahead and lace them up, and you'll see that the laces are pretty long. I'm sure if I wanted to, I can go around a second time, but I'm just gonna lace these up real quick. Have the laces there, and then again, what I like about this right here is instead of having to go across here and then loop around, I essentially could just push it right through here. So it makes it just a little easier to reach for, and just kind of come across with the strap. One thing I noticed too right now is the strap, even for me pulling it tight, has a little bit of an overlap right here. So this Velcro stops right about here. So I have like maybe extra 2 inch of Velcro just kind of hanging off. It would have been nice if they had that, either make this shorter or kind of extend the Velcro around, but I do have a little extra excess right there. Tighten these up. All right. Tie that down. Strap across. Tie that down good. So there you have it. Size 11, again, I usually wear size 10.5. My big toe is ends right about here. So it gives me an ample amount of room, which I like. I need that extra room. My biggest concern is gonna be right here. Typically, for me at least, this is where I get a lot of discomfort when it comes to boxing shoes, because this space right here across is usually kind of narrow on a lot of boxing shoes. So I typically like a shoe that's a little wider here. And also the material needs to be a little bit more flexible. If you get some of those, Nike shoes or any of the boxing shoes that use kind of like that synthetic fly wire material that's harder and more rigid, especially on the outside edges, like right here and right here, it doesn't give much give, or it'll never break in just because of the nature of the fabric that's used. This suede kind of nubuck material should break in nicely, but let me go ahead and stand up and give you guys my initial thoughts. So yeah, right off the bat, I'd say that these would fit true to size for a normal foot. If you're wide, I'd probably go a half size up if you have wide feet. My initial thoughts, I don't feel really any discomfort on this outside edge yet. But again, I think once my feet start to swell up, then I'll really be able to tell. But right now, they feel comfortable in terms of the shoe on top of my foot. The sole is definitely like rock solid. It doesn't feel like cushy and comfortable like the Adams V trainers or even the Everlast Elite shoes, where the Elites, you have a much more of a softer cushion feel. These feel very flat and doesn't feel like there's really much arch support with these shoes. So if you have flat feet, they're perfect. If you have arch feet, they just feel like you're just standing like on a flat wood floor on the inside, and they feel pretty stiff. So I foresee myself definitely putting some aftermarket insoles on here to just kind of soften up the inside. I just kind of rotate around so you guys can kind of see how they look. Not a bad looking shoe. I wanted to get the mids just so you guys can see it for yourself. You know, if I were to do it all over again, I would probably get the high tops just because the way I like the high tops to look. But again, Reebok never released a mid version of the shoe, so I had to, you know, review it. But not a bad looking shoe overall. Definitely excited to see how these perform once I start training in them, and go from there. So in the end, I'm excited to put these shoes to use. I'm going to use this in training for the next couple of weeks as part of my rotation. And then from there, I'll be able to really get a good idea of how these perform, how they break in, how comfortable they are, especially for guys like myself and for you guys that are watching that have wide feet. That's going to be probably the biggest question mark, is once your feet start to swell up, you know, that's one thing I tell people not to forget, especially when you start training. When your body starts to heat up, your limbs or your feet, your hands typically swell as you heat up. And not a lot, but enough. And just enough, even with shoes like this, to where they might fit good when you're walking around your house with them and trying them on. But the minute you start training, you know, 6 rounds into your heavy bag training, you're sweating your butt off, and you start noticing that the shoes start getting a little uncomfortable. And that's maybe because it's tightened up a bit. And you'll also notice too, just how your feet react when you start moving at a rapid pace, whether it's you're moving from side to side, doing a lot of lateral movement, lateral drills. Maybe you're sparring, so you're getting in really weird positions with your feet, and you're just maybe shifting back and forth, you know, pivoting and all that. That's when you really start to find areas in the shoe that's going to give you either a lot of comfort and you're going to be super happy with them, or you might find that they're uncomfortable. So essentially that's what I'm going to be looking for when I start using these shoes, and then I will do a full review. So as usual, if you guys have any questions or comments, you guys know what to do. Put them down below. I'll put the link in the description box where you can find these Reebok mid-top boxing shoes. I'll see you guys later. Peace.